let's talk about what we have going on today. Well, I had big plans. I was going to decorate for fall, and I had all of these things in my mind to do today, and it is pouring rain. It is so cold out, and I know that tomorrow I have to process everything. I have to pull everything left in the garden. And then I had gotten a call fairly early on this morning that a friend is coming over. She has a broken heart, she's sad, and I just decided I will prioritize all of these other things over making a YouTube video, but I do have a couple of things that I wanted to share with you. So this will be a little maybe short and sweet version. So let's get in. We're gonna make box brownies, but homemade potato soup. I have to show you these rolls I made. I didn't record any of it. And last but not least, we're gonna light the very first fire in the Wood Cookstove today for fall. Won't you join me? Let's go. Yes, I can make brownies from scratch, and in fact I do. I have a great recipe. I don't feel like digging everything out, so I'm just gonna take a little bit of help from the store. The girls are already on their way here, so no sense in making more work for myself. I literally, just so you know, processed everything that was left. I even did some other stuff in the fridge, anything I could find to get out of the refrigerator, to blanch, to freeze. The freeze dryer is running. I put a bunch of stuff. Anyway, I had a very, very long day, and I just needed to free up all of that space. And to be really honest, I'm a little bit tired at this point. So I'm just gonna take some help from the store. And I am going to double this. Let's see, 1/4 cup of water, 1/2 cup of oil, and 2 eggs. 1/2 cup of water. So 1 cup. This is grapeseed oil. It doesn't have any flavor to it, so I love it for baking. That, and for more eggs. These I wash, but I needed them to dry, and then they'll go into the refrigerator. I'm trying to collect them up to put in the freeze dryer, but I want to have enough eggs to do the entire freeze dryer at one time, because I don't want my eggs tasting like anything else. So I don't want them absorbing some other flavor from whatever is in the freeze dryer. That's the oven, preheated 350. Let's see. Egg. Then grease the pan. Okay. All right, stir this up. Just before it's completely mixed, I'm gonna doctor it up with a little bit, some white chocolate chips. And we're going with a dark chocolate theme here, so just maybe a handful. Dark chocolate chips. And now we've made it our own. How about that? But I like mine fudgy, not cakey, and so we don't want to over mix. Oh girl, look at that. It smells so good. Okay, we're gonna grease the pan. If you're wondering if I have pajamas on, the answer is yes. I just got out of the shower, knowing full and well I was going to be making a video. Did not matter. I am had washed my hair, brushed the mop on my head, took a shower, put on clean pajamas for the night. This is just some lard that I keep for my cast iron pans. Okay. Let's see, 350 for 28 minutes. Set a 28-minute timer.
28 minutes, counting down.
If you don't know, I love to make as much from scratch as I can, but I am a no shame sort of kitchen. I am absolutely willing to make a brownie out of the box after a long, hard day, because you know what? That box brownie is gonna warm the soul the same as a homemade brownie, because what is for dinner is absolutely homemade. Let me show you these rules. I like to, when they're a little bit warm, just cover them with parchment. These took me 3 hours. Let me know in the comment section if you want me to share. This is more of like a longer recipe. There is milk and butter, sugar, flour, salt, all of the things. They are a yeast bread, and they are amazing, amazing, amazing. Wyatt came home from school. He is freezing, which is why we're gonna light the fire. He is helping with the football team, and it is just rainy and cold, cold, cold. He had 2 of these when they were warm with just honey on them. Oh, girl, they are absolutely amazing. So this is what I mean by it's okay if not everything in your kitchen is made from scratch. If it's made with love, isn't that all that really matters? My potato soup is 100% made from scratch. So I want to check my daughter's location because it's she's close enough. Let's get started on that, and then we'll light the fire. When I was doing the fridge clean out, I went ahead and peeled and chopped 5 pounds of potatoes, and then I just had them in cold water. We don't need them to be super starchy for this soup. I know a lot of people make a potato soup and it's like an all-day thing. This recipe is probably one of the greatest things that I cook, and it is so fast. It is like a weeknight thing around here. It's not a recipe that I need to wait till the weekend, till I have a substantial amount of time. I just looked at where Cody's at on the highway and am throwing together the soup. I did pre-chop a bunch of stuff, only because I was trying to figure out what is in there. And then I was going to, on the carrots that are in there, you'll see those in a second. I was going to blanch and freeze those like I did all of the parsnips and the kohlrabi and all of the different root vegetables and so on. But I thought with everything I was doing this week, that's just not necessary. So whole onion going down. Okay, earlier in the week, I did chop and freeze all of the celery out of my garden. So this is completely homegrown. So that's just a couple of stalks. It was maybe a cup and a half. Not everyone loves as much celery in the recipe as I do. And now I'm gonna smash up a few cloves of garlic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 is what I have left in that head there. So do all of them. Give it a really good rack. this is what I was talking about. The carrots were getting like little fine hairs on them. So I went ahead and peeled and chopped and rinsed them. Good chunk of carrots. 1 whole stick of butter goes in. This is homemade, like 48 hours in the making. Homemade chicken bone broth. So we do 2 of these guys. Smells like Thanksgiving, like the slowest cooked. Beautiful food. I'm only going to use 2 seasonings in my soup. Garlic salt and black pepper. That is it. Now, let me show you something before I start. Do you mind? Okay, just like if you were making mashed potatoes. So to make mashed potatoes, you just cover the potato. You don't, let's get this going while we're chatting. You don't submerge them like soup. Well, they're submerged, but they don't need like 3 or 4 inches of water over the top of them to cook. So what's going to happen with this soup is the same thing. That chicken broth is going to give it an amazing flavor. The vegetables are going to cook into the broth. We're going to be able to cook this at a higher temperature because the milk isn't already in it. And then instead of heating and slowly cooking the potatoes with the milk or the dairy in it, then we're going to be able to just add heavy cream when it is finished, taste it, see if it needs some more salt or pepper, and then it is literally done. So in the amount of time it would take you to make mashed potatoes, the soup is finished. So let's go start. So this is my wood cook stove. You know what I did? There was some mail in there. It's been in there for a long time, but when it's stuff that I don't want people getting a hold of, banking information, so on, I just burn it. I had this stove cleaned just this week, and I thought the mail had burned and I had shut the door and it just kind of smoldered it down. So let me tell you a little bit about this cook stove and my, first of all, can you see that? Like literally in seconds it is taking off. That is because it is super duper clean right now. I have it inspected and cleaned once a year, and then every 3 months or so you actually have to clean a stove like this because they just say it's the nature of the beast. The way that it drafts is the pipe isn't directly over the firebox, and so you don't get a super hot fire in the stovepipe, which is what you need to actually clean out the stovepipe. Instead, the heat comes up, the smoke comes up, and then over and then out of the stovepipe. And to get it that hot, pardon the interruption, we don't often like to get it just roasting that kind of hot, even in the winter time, because it is so warm in here. It is not something that you want to stand in front of when it is roasting that hot, but we do try and burn 2 really hot fires in it a day, one in the morning and one at night before bed. Then you fill it with wood and turn it down, and it lasts for me for about 8 hours through the night. So this is a J.A. Roby is the brand. It is based on square foot. I have a lot of people say, oh, I'm getting the same one. It may be smaller, it may be the same size, it may just be the same brand. But when we went on to Obadiah's wood stoves, that's who we got this from, we put in the square footage of the house and how much square footage did we want to heat with the wood stove. And that is how we came upon this stove. The actual stove we wanted was an American-made stove that is really way more of like a modern look to it, those sort of things. it was bigger than this, but at the time, they wouldn't even take orders for it, like backup orders, because they weren't able to get the steel to build the stoves at that current time. So our next best was the JA Roby. This took us something like 10 months to get, and we almost made it through the first winter without it. We have backup heat, which is the pellet stove over there. And then our house is truly heated from the basement from a Blaze King. So basically we have a total with the unfinished basement, because the Blaze King is heating that, it is included in the square footage. We heat 4,300 square feet with 2 wood stoves. So the one in the basement and then this guy right here. So as we head into fall and winter, we are so fortunate to be back to actually cooking on the wood stove again, to be using it for heat, and to be featuring it again in the channel. So if you're new around here and you're interested in cooking on a wood stove and all the things that we do with it, then make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We will pop in and out of the kitchen. Right now we have a few things to finish up. We're hunting, the garden, so on. But when winter comes, this is used for everything from making my coffee in the morning, heating our house, to making all of our meals. It is a fantastic member of the homestead. A little more on how she works. Over here controls the airflow. And when you're getting a wood stove going, it's okay. Have the door cracked because you're really trying to get a lot of air to flow, because this is a long stovepipe. The one in the basement is 3 stories high. That is how much stovepipe is running out of that. This one is 2. We have a story over us, and so this has to run 2 stories up. When it is cold, it wants to, the weight of the cold air wants to push down on that stove pipe, and it doesn't want to let the hot air out, and so it kind of hits. So the hottest, fastest way you can heat up this stove is to actually leave the door cracked just a little, crank a hot fire, get it going as quickly as possible. It'll draft amazingly, and then once it's going, we shut, we lock the door, and we adjust how much heat we're getting. This is already heating up with the side over here. Do you want to know how the oven works? I'll tell you. The oven we have found is not quite as useful as we thought it was going to be. Anything cooked low and slow, it is fantastic. And then something that we did figure out to do is we put a stone in there, like a pizza stone, and that pizza stone heats up and it helps keep the temperature of the oven a little more steady. The reason there is some issues with the oven is, unlike a gas or an electric oven, it's getting that identical amount of heat the whole time. With the wood cook stove, in order to be, I haven't quite figured it out, and it's been a couple of years. So either the stove is heating way up because you have a hot fire burning in there, or the fire is burning and the stove is coming down. The other thing is, you have this hot fire, you load some wood in there, the temperature comes down. So it's a constant adjusting thing. So I have found that pizza stone really helps kind of hold on to some heat while it is heating up or baking something. To use the oven, all you do is move this lever. What this lever does inside here is, right now it is open and it is taking all of the smoke up and out of this stovepipe. When we close this, it'll smoke up as it's trying to light with the door cracked. When we close that, what it causes it to happen is the smoke, the heat, goes down and around the oven and then back up and through. So it is a circulation where the heat and the smoke want to go, right? They want to go out of the stovepipe, and now you're directing it someplace else, and it's pushing that heat and the smoke around the oven. You never ever want to run your oven if you're not actually preheating it and using it. You always want to keep the oven, that part shut off, so that you're not building a ton of creosote around this chunk of the wood cook stove. So those are kind of some of the natures of the beast, they call it. How does it cook on the top? Great question. The closer to the firebox, the hotter. The further from the firebox, the cooler. This whole cook surface heats up. Therefore, you can cook a whole lot more pans, have a whole lot more going on here than you could on even a regular stove. However, you have low and you have high. And then even with the high side, the cooking side, you adjust it, and kind of right back here is the hottest part of my stove. Here is a little bit cooler, here is more, and so on. So when you get one of these, you kind of learn and you figure it out fairly quickly where you want, how high of a fire you want, and where you want your pan actually going. In this, I went ahead and put some eggshells. They are, well, they're dry now. We'll pull those out. But I was drying some eggshells for the garden and then also for the chickens if we weren't able. So now I can just crunch and crumble them. So the warming oven does work, and it works really, really well. It is a great place to put bread or anything that you want to keep warm. However, I have seen people put bread in their warming oven for the bread to rise. Mine gets too hot for that. Yours may not. So if I am putting bread over here because it's really cold in the house and I want it to rise, I would actually just put it all the way up here on top where it's just getting some residual heat from the oven, but not actually in this warming oven. Because the stovepipe runs through the oven. The pipe right here, that's our brownies. Okay, where were we? This stovepipe here versus that stovepipe, they're not actually the same. This is a single wall, stovepipe, and the rest are double, and then what's in the attic are triple. So this stovepipe is very, very thin for it to actually be radiating heat around the stove. Let me go to the girls. Okay, so as far as the stove goes, let me know any questions that you have, and I will try and answer those. And then also let me know what you would like to see me cook on it come this winter and fall time. I'm excited to share some beautiful recipes and things with you guys. Let's check in on the soup.
So what's new, Selena?
Oh, nothing.
Nothing? No. You put that much bread in there.
Oh, my
Quit yelling. That's all I'm doing.
Where the driveway needs fixed.
Oh my god. That's little
All right, soup is done. It's come to a boil. I've taste tested it. It is perfect. Let me just show you how we serve it. Da-da-da. Soup. We have fresh, really crunchy bacon bits, some homegrown. I grew these these scallions. And then last night we had tacos, so I have some leftover grated cheese. I didn't have to grate that. Let's taste test. Look at that roll. They're so fluffy. I'm gonna taste test mine with the roll. Oh, fun. That is so good. Back up, back up. Jeez. Fire. It is roaring, and our little fan is working. So these fans work off of heat, and it is blowing the heater out of the house. We can actually kick it down a little bit. It's fantastic. Everyone is making their bowls. We have a full house. Thank you, those of you who have joined me today and stuck around all the way to the end. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell to get notifications. Thumbs up and comments all help our channel to grow. If you like the video or you know someone interested in a wood stove like this, share it by all means. And also the best potato soup recipe there is, super simple, weeknight meal. I hope you enjoy. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.